Hello and welcome to the AI Boardroom. Today we have some interesting topics for you, and Svetlana will give you some overview.
Yeah, an exciting one, and maybe some debates I feel are going to happen during this news episode because as we were kind of discussing topics, it did get quite heated. So hope you guys stick around. We'll talk about Rabbit R1. We'll talk about some activity that's happening. It's quite interesting in the AI influencer world and where that's going. We'll talk about 5.3 and Snowflake's new LLM. So that's kind of just a high level overview. And I think we're jumping in straight into Rabbit R1.
Yeah. So, as far as I understood, you think it's the best thing that happened to the world
Oh,
since
no.
fire.
Quite the opposite. And I think this is where I think we started going down. So I think I would bunch this into the humane kind of release and Rabbit R1, not from a technology perspective. So just want you to make sure that, like, I think the technology is really impressive. I think that the value has to be there for the user. Like, it has to kind of fall into people's lives like fluidly to be able to really provide a lot of value. So yeah, tech is impressive, but I think the idea of interacting with this device via voice is quite problematic, as it's kind of like primary business or primary use function to it. But then two, I think we talked about is like you still are very dependent. Like, the setup is still tethered to either you having a or requires you to have like a laptop or a mobile device for you to like authenticate into apps. So I'm like, I can walk into an Apple store, get an iPhone, set it up, like activate it, and I'm good to go. Like, I'm not dependent on another device. So I just don't really understand why I would need another mobile device if yes, it's much more, integrated as far as an experience via this large action model that kind of powers the experience. But I'm okay navigating, like doing a few swipes on my phone to find the right app and just kind of doing it. I
But
don't need
I
to.
think that's where it's coming down to, right? If
Yeah.
if the experience takes even a bit longer than me taking out my phone, ordering, and putting my phone back in my pocket, it just fails. I have to say, I always said and will keep saying, why a separate device? The only thing is integration, because you cannot integrate stuff deep into the system on an iPhone as Apple can, and you never will be. That said, if you build a device, do it like them. Like, that's you have to give them props. Building stuff is really hard, like really
Oh,
really
yeah.
hard. Them pulling off such a quality device like from the get go is like really impressive. I think you have to give them that. I also like I said, like Lana is not, you're not the target audience for that. I think it's for early adopters, it's for developers, and that's what I say. It's like, if you bring a new technology, you won't be able to get even close to to deliver any experience if you don't have the developers on your side to invest in your platform. So because you are dependent, like for example, they have Spotify and DoorDash, and they have the large action model and stuff like that, but in the end, Spotify and others have to agree to be like featured on their platform, and so like that's what this device is for. It's like, be good enough to get people inspired of what it can do and will be able to do. If you're Svetlana, don't buy that device. You're not the target audience. And even me, like I am potentially the target audience, but I don't have the time to like play around with some first gen device, which is meant for people that really want to be on the cutting edge and be an early adopter for that kind of things. Like, Svetlana, I think you just upgraded your Mac after 8 years. Like, you're not an early adopter. Like, I bought the first M1 when it was released, basically a week later. So because I was
There's
so.
certain devices that I think I would invest to. But again, going back to your comment, I think if this technology was really to impress developers, Edgar's impressed. So, so
No.
Rabbit, I think this is a great time and validation. Like you've reached the milestone that I think you
Like,
should take it to Apple
I'm not a
and
tech
sell the
reviewer.
tech.
I'm not a tech reviewer. The Verge is,
Okay.
and they say like fun, funky, unfinished. That's totally correct. Nobody has expected anything else. And they say like it seems to do well enough, but where are all the promised features? And that's that. Like, for example, you cannot make like pull the volume up by a voice. You have to do it on the device. Like that's a fail. Like that's just plain. Like you could have done better.
Yeah.
Like I said, external APIs. Yeah, you have to keep a look at it. But I think we have a lot of opinion and so not that much news. So what actually
Yeah.
happened in the reviews, and most of them were pretty similar. So I've watched several reviews. I haven't watched the Verge one, but I think it like the headline already says it. It has the typical AI stuff, but it does a lot of stuff really well. It does the vision recognition works really well. The
But it can't take
explaining
pictures.
stuff.
Like as with the volume, like it can do
I
all of
never,
this like very
I
advanced
never
stuff, but it
even,
can't take pictures.
I never even thought of it. And the camera is crap, so why would you? So, but that's not the thing. The thing is like it is able to answer really quickly, and it is able to answer quick enough for me to not be quicker googling it. Which was the case with the Humane AI pin stuff thingy. So yeah, that's already good. Like you could, and it also is good in remembering the context. So I think Unbox Therapy, like one of the biggest tech reviewer channels on YouTube, he's always testing stuff out and trying out. And he was asking about his favorite football team or something, or hockey team. And then he was asking like completely loose questions following up on that, which you, knowing the context, can understand, but most computer systems fail. And Rabbit does it really, really well. So, and he also asked, what can you do in Toronto and area? And then it listed some things. And he asked, okay, but what can I do if I'm on a budget? And then it listed other things. And it was all right and all correct. And it that I think for a first gen product with the current state of AI, and that speed that they delivered, that was impressive. It did other things not so well. Like you basically have no integrations. You can use Spotify. I think that's also working pretty well, but everything else, you're most likely quicker on your phone. DoorDash was something they showed a lot, but was not the best demo.
As you mentioned, why not just integrate this technology again, sell it to Apple, make them integrate and make that technology, whatever, all of those services available through the phone. Like I think that's a natural next step for them to follow. But yeah, I'm assuming just based on our discussions, I'm not going to get like a test device from Rabbit anytime soon.
No, but that's also the thing. Like with all the AI companies, you have to take it with a big grain of salt. A lot of them are even scam because they try to get money from investors. That's all they do. And Rabbit has to deliver something to at least get more money from investors.
Yeah.
And I think what they have done, it's thought out, it has character, and it's a good first try. And nothing more. Like it's not meant for the broad public. And other stuff like Devon is claiming and not even showing or giving anyone access to anything, and they ship devices to reviewers without any hesitations or any instructions or whatsoever. So I think that's showing that they at least for real, and that they have a plan. And generally, like from a technical perspective, having an AI OS like operating system is the right way to go for the future. Separate device, I don't know, but yeah, that's that.
Yeah. Do you want to talk, the contest you were going to enroll as an AI influencer? You
Oh
mentioned
yeah,
you were
yeah.
going to.
I was even thinking about like just handing my own photo in, like, and just saying I'm AI. Like, so yeah, this is the World AI Creator Awards. Oh no, I think that's not even the RON, or is it? Ah yeah, Enter Miss AI. Yeah. So I was just reading through AI news and was like, AI Miss AI, and I was like, who's Miss AI? And it seems like there's a prize for the most crowd, like influential influencer. I don't know. AI,
What's
they
the
call,
criteria?
yeah, they like the AI creator. I just find it funny to think about like the whole Miss contest. I've always thought they're really questionable, especially if they involve kids. But yeah, you can enter your Miss AI. What happens if I click the link? Ah, yeah. Best.
I mean, but the
It's
amount of
just
AI
okay.
influencer and AI experts, I mean, I don't think they're going to have a shortage of applications.
Yeah, I think so. I'm
Oh,
always.
beauty,
I
tech, and social. Oh, they even have categories. Whoa.
oh, that's interesting. So you might have qualified, like before the podcast and stuff. You might have qualified for tech.
Oh, darn
We
it.
all weren't sure, Lana. We were like,
Were you going to apply to the beauty section?
I will, like, I will show all my hair. Like, no, that sounded wrong.
I say,
Fuck.
I say you do it. So if
Yeah,
anyone would want to see Edgar's
yeah.
submitting his application, please
I need
comment.
at least 1,000 likes for that one. But I'll do
You have
it.
to promise you'll do it because we
Did we
will
check?
need evidence.
Did we check the likes on the audio video? Like, do I have to present my
Oh,
singing?
I haven't.
We have to revisit it for next week.
Oh yeah, you're looking forward to singing. That's what it is. Yeah,
I always
we'll
like
take a look.
I just cover it up like in not wanting to do it attitude, like. But the only thing I want to do is sing for you all.
Now this is an interesting. Yeah,
Yeah,
again, just speaks to the amount of and how easy it is to become an expert in AI these days. You just kind of have to talk about it, and there's a contest that again is probably like a stamp of approval that
yeah.
hey, you're
Also,
now truly yeah.
I think like it's still amazing. I cannot tell that this is AI generated. Like at least not from the resolution I have here. I think I like not looking second or third time. I think the fourth time I will notice them. But look at the water. Look at like
Oh
it's
yeah, the
just
quality is amazing.
yeah. It's really interesting how good these photos are. I had one influencer was showing me on Instagram, and I had to scroll through like 50 photos to find the pattern and to really like and there are a lot of people like commenting under the AI influencers that think they are for real or they don't care. Like I think there are a lot of people that just don't care if they see a beautiful woman, they just try to get nudes
Oh
and
yeah.
they get them, and that's the funniest part because they all have a link following like leading you to a site where you can pay $5 a month and get the nude pics like
Mm.
daily, and and that's that must be a huge market for them, honestly. And I think I just read this week it's $1 billion market already. And like I said, people, is it really different? Like for, you had porn stars and all this stuff. Like now you go like at least no human is involved and damaged in the whole process. Yeah, it's an interesting topic. I thought a lot
I
about this.
say, I think in conclusion of this topic, I say you do apply, you generate the persona, and you see if there's a market for
Yeah,
a
for you.
persona like yours.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, there could be, so you might
Could be
actually become
also,
a millionaire.
yeah, it could also be jumpstart. Like if you're a nobody and you win one of the
That's true.
categories because you look fantastic or your AI avatar looks fantastic. Would be really funny if someone real wins it. Like that would be really funny.
Interesting. Yeah. So, do we want to go back to
To
large
real
language
news.
models,
Yeah.
to
Okay.
real news? So I know you were really excited to talk about 5.3.
Yeah,
You want to
yeah.
just?
I'm to be completely honest. Like it came in the mid of the week or something, or beginning of the week, and like all the news I then got in preparation before I had to do other stuff. Um, yeah, I would have wished to get deeper. What I can tell is 5.3 is a small language model by Microsoft. They already had two versions that were impressive by themselves. They have really specific training data on that one and tried to keep the model small with that. So they use mostly reasoning stuff to get the model really good in reasoning. It's the biggest model yet, and they even have like a medium-sized one, but the normal one is like 3.8 billion parameters. So it's still a size that you can potentially run on your phone. So that's how small that is. And I also tried it out, and they also have a version with a 128K token window, which I found really interesting because the current model just has like only has like 4K, and there is no small model with 128K token window. But that said, it's not that easy to get this running yet. So we have to wait on the open source community to push this a bit. How does it perform? So we have 5.3 mini and 128K. You see, like the 128K also loses a bit of quality, but in general, I think it's hard to compare it because they compared it like with Llama 3 8 billion, and I think that's mostly
Mm.
the right comparison. And they say it outperforms its quality, and it's like less than half the size, so it even outperforms it just in the efficiency part. So yeah, I'm not completely convinced that they beating Llama 3 because Llama 3 8 billion, that's something I also can add, really performed well on less complex tasks. And that's basically the same for 5.3. Like if you have less complex reasoning tasks, you're basically in for a treat because huge leap forward. It's fast, it's reliant in reasoning and instruction following. So that's really something. If you have small tasks where you're already using like smaller models for like GPT 3.5, for example, try 5.3. It might get the job done for you.
So
Especially rag pipelines, stuff like that. Yeah.
how are they getting these models, smaller and performing at a higher quality? Is it because they're excluding certain text or language from their training
Yeah,
sets? Are they compacting the knowledge?
it's all training data. So Llama just had a huge amount. That was one thing. Like Llama trained on 15 trillion tokens, which still it's far ahead of anything else. Not sure about GPT-4 because it's not disclosed. But yeah, 5.3 had always the goal to be really good at reasoning, and the whole data set is like specialized on that.
I
So
see.
you have a specialized data set which is of high quality. So you can say most improvements we get now with Llama 3, with 5.3, and also some other models like Wizard LM, for example, also from Microsoft, they all go back on a bit modern, like more modern architecture, better architecture, in the whole model itself, and better training data. So you couldn't
Oh
use the
yeah.
same training data on Llama 2 or 5.2 for that matter, and get the same result because like the underlying architecture is just old. So it's kind of an architectural gain and a gain in through high quality training data.
Like the data itself.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
I know
really,
that
really interesting. Yeah.
you've been also testing with Llama 3 this week, and did you
Yeah.
want to compare? Like, did you want to talk about it here as well as it
So
compares
yeah,
to the?
just a quick mention. So for Llama 3 and also for like Llama 3 and 8 billion and 70 billion. I haven't tested 8 billion as much, but I've watched some content, especially around agents for the 8 billion model. Yeah, like I said, quite interesting. If you have not so complex stuff, but if you have more complex data, and that's something I have in my product for my RAG pipeline, I had mixed results, but I kind of get there sooner than later. So I think if we go through some iterations of Llama 3 and let the open source community fine tune stuff, we and have stuff like proper JSON outputs and things like that. I think then we will get a long way with Llama 70B, and it's really, really, really good. Still, like with all other models yet tested, GPT-4 Turbo gives me the most consistent results. That said, Llama 370 billion is so close, it's ridiculous, because it's like a 1/4 for like one like 5% of the size or something. I'm not sure. Like it's ridiculous. Well, 5% is a bit low, but you get it. Like GPT-4 is like 1.8 trillion, and we
So even
have
smaller models can perform at a level of a significantly
yeah.
larger one. I think we're
From a
starting to see that trend
cost and performance perspective, it's not even like I honestly
comparable.
what I will do now, I will put in a switch in my software where the user has to decide if he wants a bit less accuracy, and it's really not a lot less, it's a bit less accuracy, but a 10x performance improvement, then you should like just go with the Llama model. And context window is also limiting at the moment. But from that, yeah, really, GPT-4, like I said, even compared with Claude 3 and all the models out there, still gives me the most consistent results for a production use case. That said, Llama 3 is so close. I'm really close to completely exchange it. If it had a bigger context window, I already might have.
And related, I think you were
Yeah.
kind of chatting about Snowflake and the large language model. Is it Cortex?
No,
Or which model is
Arctic.
Arctic? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, do you have a okay, yeah, there you go.
Yeah. So I wouldn't want to talk too long about this, but for all you out there searching for a way to have a real open source, because they also released the code, like this is kind of a proper open source model. If you want to host it yourself in your enterprise environment, still beaten mostly by Llama 370 billion. That said, it is really, really efficient because it is trained specifically on enterprise use cases, which is
It's huge.
coding, SQL generation, instruction following. So stuff because Snowflake, for who's not aware, is a database company, I think. Solutions, yeah. And they have an interest in people using AI and them also using AI to improve their own solutions. It's similar to DBRX or something. I think it was called
Databricks.
from Databricks, right? I think it is here. Yeah, DBRX. Yeah, and it goes like in the same direction. But one special thing, and that's why it made it into the news. It's a mixture of expert model, and we know this from Mixtral, and also GPT-4 is also a mixture of expert model. And Mixtral has 8 experts, and I think GPT-4 2 has 8 experts. Snowflake also has experts, but they have 128.
Wow, that's huge.
Which is kind of interesting. Each expert itself then becomes really small, because I think the whole model is like 408 billion or something, and the whole model is huge, but they all only execute on 2 models at the same time, which makes it in execution hugely more efficient. I think it's only I think it's 7 was 7 billion or something parameters per expert. So you get close in coding SQL generation instruction following to Llama 3, which is 3 times bigger in the actual executed nodes in the model itself. So there you gain efficiency, you gain speed, and I think it's like a really interesting architecture. I really look forward for someone to really try this out, and they did it pretty well. So congrats for that, I would say.
And I think it's an interesting trend, right? When the ChatGPT came out, everyone's kind of started to build large models. Like the larger the better, the more data you feed it. Now people are realizing that, hey, maybe that's not the most optimal path of building this technology. It's actually not the most efficient. You don't need all of that knowledge for specific tasks. So now they're kind of coming back and saying, how can we build them more efficient? And now they're testing with different techniques. Again, like probably don't need to go all the way to 70 billion parameters, but can we build the models off of the existing data to be able to be activated more efficiently? So you don't need to start up this whole entire cruise of a ship. Maybe you can just get like a bike started, and provide that level of efficiency, and it still can get you from A to B, ultimately behind the scenes. But it's an interesting trend that instead of actually, again, going for more and more data and creating ever bigger models, now we're looking at these new techniques emerging where, they're testing different ways for how to optimize for efficiency, but also quality. So it's really interesting.
Yeah, definitely. And I love this trend, to be honest. I can like 5.3 on my, I can show it. I do it live now.
You have it on your computer?
Yeah, I have it. Like, let me quickly check if I can. No, I can't. Why can't I zoom in? Increase font size. Okay. There we go. So I zoomed into my command line, and I just I think I'll do it like raw. Screen.
Let's see what you have. Let's see how busy your desktop is.
Oh no, that's a bad idea. I have issues starting up. Oh, that's sad.
Can I just do it next time?
What do you see? Do you see
just
anything?
you?
No, I'm sorry. It was my mistake. So now we go. So for all of you who look for running your stuff locally, Ollama is one of the tools you can use. There's and then you just say Ollama run, and then I say 5.3. I think it's like this. No, it isn't. 5.3. It's without the dash. Okay. So 5.3, it's now loading. It's starting up, and then our usual stuff, right? Game, Snake, and Python. So, and that's how fast it does inference on my computer. Like this is all locally. It's no URL back and forth. It's just working locally on my computer. That's not a good question for 5.3. I say that, but in general, like to show how fast the inference is, here you go. And that is on my beefy machine. I say that, but it's not even on the neural engine. It's just on the graphics engine, and you see, like it's really, really usable. So if you have a local reg pipeline, which there are use cases for example, personal data, stuff like that, have a look at it.
Yeah, exciting. Well, that's it. I think we've covered a lot. Hopefully you've enjoyed this episode. Please consider subscribing if you found it entertaining. If you want to see Edgar compete in that contest, I'd say he should please like this video, because I'd love to see his application up there on the website. But yeah, don't forget to subscribe. Any other parting words, Edgar?
Oh, if they buy that I'm the AI, if I am AI generated, then I will definitely win, because like I'm the most lifelike AI guy then.
Fair point.
But I will not win the beauty score. That's for sure. That said, thank you very much for listening. I hope we weren't too chatty today, but yeah, some interesting topics always gets us excited to talk about, especially me. um, and yeah, thank you for tuning in. Lana said videos are online, linked somewhere here. Just click on it and see the rest of our content. A lot of info, a lot of interesting stuff. See you next week. Bye bye.
Thank you.